Please hit like, share, and subscribe. Now enjoy the Practical Guitarist podcast. Now, you've got one hell of a rhythm section. I'll just say that.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, they're relatively new. They're relatively new. I mean, the bass player's only been playing with me for a couple of months.
Really?
3 months. Yeah.
Yeah, because I knew you had a different bass player before.
Yeah. He just, he had a COVID thing, so he's high risk, and he was like, man, I'm out. And now this guy came in, and I'm he's killing it, man. This kid is killing it.
You got to love
him. He's hungry.
That guy, I mean, well, we'll talk because I want to talk about when you go off to do your thing and you're not playing like chords and you're doing the melody parts versus the harmony parts. And it's just incredible. Just what those guys do to fill it in is just, they know what they're doing. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
Done it before. All right. So I guess I'll open this one, David.
Yeah, fine by me.
I discovered Anthony. No.
Yes. Yeah. Somehow
he was hiding under a rock before I discovered.
Yeah, I've been hiding for.
The only guy that knew him everything.
The only guy that knew him around here was like Bob Seger and stuff. But so Anthony, this is Anthony Rosano, everybody. And Anthony, I'm sorry, I'm looking. This is my computer. That's why I look down or I look over.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm looking at.
Yeah. My phone, my Hero's right, or my GoPro's right in front of me. But anyway, so Anthony, please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be not just Anthony Rosano. I mean, that was your mom and dad, right? But because you're from Long Island, right?
I'm from Long Island originally. Yeah, I live in Hampton Roads now. I moved down here in 1996. At the time I had given up sort of playing music. I played music for a while up in New York, tri-state area, Jersey, Connecticut kind of thing. Had a couple brushes with, I don't want to say success, but some cool things were happening. That band fell apart. I got engaged. My father-in-law was living in Norfolk at the time. He's originally from Queens. My wife's family's from Queens, but he lived down here. Came down here to meet him. Asked for his daughter's hand. Got married, and at the time I was paying $1,200 a month for like a 2-bedroom apartment, up in New York, and could rent a house down here for $500. That was about 300 square foot bigger than my apartment. So we said, you know what, let's do it. Let's just move down. We moved down to Virginia, and been down here ever since. So I started playing again probably about 2005-ish. I started playing, doing a few gigs with some pickup cover band gigs and that sort of thing. And then you know how it goes as guitar players. It starts out with like, I'm just going to do this thing and then I was right back in it, man. I just, by 2012, no day gig. I said, I'm just going to play music full time, and been doing it ever since.
Cool.
Yeah. So you are a full-time musician, right?
Yes. Full time. Absolutely. Well, I would say not quite full time because of COVID right now. But
yeah.
BC before COVID, I was definitely a full time musician.
Now you're just doing a lot of marketing, right? I mean,
yeah, that's it. Well, you got to be a TV producer and record your own stuff, promote your own stuff, and I'm not complaining by any means, but no, it's just the gigs are starting to come back now, which is good. I've got a pretty the spring is pretty full, summer's looking pretty full. Everything that I've been doing personally with me and my band has been I feel responsible. I encourage everybody to wear masks. Go get your Fauci ouchie when your number's up. Go get it. Let's
Thursday.
let's get good. Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. The seating's limited. One of the positive things that's come out of all of this is it's really easy to sell out a room now.
Yeah, yeah. I noticed that last week.
Yeah.
I mean, that place was for COVID. It was packed. I mean, obviously,
it was. Yeah, I mean, yeah. It was. We had a good. That was the Old Beach Tavern show. Yeah, it was. It was a good. It was a really good turnout, man. And I think we did like 3.5 hours. We didn't take a break. We just played.
I could not believe you guys didn't take a break. I mean, you played all the way through. I thought I heard you mention, I'm going to do this song. We're going to take a break. But because there was and just to let the audience know, there was a wedding party there. So I was like one of the 12 people or whatever. No, there was a lot more than that. The few people that wasn't part of the wedding party. But let me tell you, they loved you guys. They loved you.
Listen, I was so nervous about that because when they told me there was a wedding party there, I'm like, okay, what's going to happen? Like, I mean, material-wise, what my band does is, and somebody actually, this is how I'm going to describe the band from now on when they ask me, what do you sound like? It's blues-based rock mixed with a 70s blacklight poster. That's kind of what we. That's kind of what we are. It's kind. You know what I mean? I mean, that's the most descriptive thing I can. And this guy Willie Gilligan came up with that. But anyway, so yeah, I was worried. I'm like, well, what are they going to do when we start playing like this Cream, James Gang kind of vibe stuff, and then go into War Pigs and like, what. But they loved it. They loved it. They were actually freaking out when we did War Pigs.
I know, because you introduced it. You were like, this is a song, I used to do at weddings and blah, blah, blah. And you said, this is a great wedding song. And you went right into War Pigs.
It's a great wedding song. If you've ever been to a wedding, it brings out the worst in people.
I loved it. I thought that was hilarious. My friend and I, Hayden and I, we were sitting there and we were busting up laughing. I was sitting with the owner over on the side there.
Yeah.
And that was pretty good. We enjoyed that. So, all right, I got to ask you this question. Where does the name Conqueroos come from?
All right, so Conqueroos, the band name Conqueroos, comes from the actual where I lifted it was from Muddy Waters. There's a lyric in Hoochie Coochie Man where he says, I got a black cat bone, I got my John the Conqueror. And what John the Conqueror is there's a root called John the Conqueror root. And the old blues guys would have their mojo hand, their flannel bag. And so they put their black cat bone, all their talismans and good luck things. One of the things they would put in there was John the Conqueror root. And over time, they would just stop, it was like John the Conqueror root, John the Conqueror to I got my Conqueror. And what it was used for was actually two uses. The first one is if you were on trial, you're supposed to take it and grind it into a powder, put that chew it up, put it in your mouth, right? And when you walk in a courtroom, you spit on the courtroom floor and you'll be acquitted of all charges. That was one of the first things.
Let me know how that goes for you.
What's that?
I said, let me know how that goes for you. Spitting on the courtroom.
Well, here's the other thing. And I've tried this, and this does work. The other thing, the main thing it was used for, was you grind it into a powder and you put it on your piece of deal, and it makes you go all night with the ladies.
Now, see? So I was going to ask if it was anything like Mandrake.
Yeah, so
basically.
A Conqueror is actually like voodoo Viagra. That's what it is. So that's where the band name came.
All right. So, it's
kind of
like Steely
Dan. Could I say that? I mean,
you can say anything you want on this one. We do not give two shits what happens.
We have some listeners who would, but
they listen when their kids aren't listening. They've learned that we drop an F-bomb and stuff every now and again. And we try not to do
like some mail, like my kid asked me what a piece of deal.
Yeah, I don't think that they'll have that problem.
I don't think they'll have that.
I think that the person we're referring to will be able to explain that one away. So we got to ask the elephant in the room. We got to ask about the elephant in the room because it's right there in your lap. We got to ask the Acoustasonic Jazz Master because we did a show. You haven't been able to. Yep, that's a beauty, by the way.
Oh yeah.
And we haven't been able to. I was going to play it. I went to Guitar Center. They got a white one.
Yep.
In stock, and I was going to play it, try it out, really sit down and see, because you were looking at telly, right? and I really wanted to try to see what they felt like, side by side. But I figured, all right, let me let this guy give me some guidance on what he's seeing, because you have been comparing that for a while. You've been looking at Telly for a while.
I've been looking at I was looking at the Strat and the Telly for at least a year. Okay. I liked the Telly when it first came out. I'm a big Telly guy. I always have a Telly. Is one of the guitars that I always bring with me. I have a pine body 50s style Telly that a guy named Michael Reese over at Boulevard Guitars in Hampton built for me. Great guitar. Absolutely love that guitar. It was my number one for a really long time. I got 3 number ones, So that's number one. So I like Telly stuff. I liked the Telly and I liked the Strat. I didn't love the Telly and I didn't love the Strat. And there was I will say what I did not like about them first. They sounded great. They sounded they still I stand by that. I do think this one, because it has a bigger body, sounds better. It's a little more resonant. It sounds a little more authentic. But I think the Telly and the Strat do sound really good. The main thing I didn't like about them was they look like a weird Telly or a weird Strat. Okay, so it was sonically and an aesthetic thing. The aesthetic thing to me, it just looked like it was like, what is this? That's a weird looking Telly. That's a weird looking Strat. I think this Jazzmaster. I mean, it looks so weird, even though I know it's a Jazzmaster. Most people don't know what a Jazzmaster looks like. So as a gigging musician and being on stage, and for what I use it for, the whole vibe of it lends itself to the stage thing, because it looks strange enough where it's not like, that's just a weird looking, it's a weird looking instrument, not a weird looking version of a pre-existing instrument.
Right.
Okay. That's one of the things that drew me to this. And then sonically, like I said, when I first plugged this in, and again, I've been trying these things for like a year. I plugged this in. I went through the sounds. Just the first sound, I was sold. I was like, I'm done. It sounds amazing. The pickup on this guitar is a Shawbucker. So the other ones have a single coil pickup. This one has a humbucker pickup. The humbucker pickup and the electric sounds way better. And then with the gain on it, gain channel, it sounds incredible. It's great. You could gig with this straight into a PA convincingly. I think the humbucker on this outshines the single coils on the other two models, in my opinion. So I pulled the trigger on it pretty quick, and I use it for looping. That's what I use. I use it at my looping gigs. It's the best thing for a looping gig, in my opinion.
We're going to talk about that too, because
because we definitely want to talk about.
There's a big elephant in the room right here that
he's
put
got
together this weekend.
His looping board's right behind him.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it's got some stuff that you've got apparently. So we'll go into that. But what I wanted to ask, so obviously, like humbucking pickup, how much of it are you using for the electric sounds? Like 50%, or?
No, I use it mainly as an acoustic thing because I'm doing an acoustic. I'm using it at my acoustic shows. I'm using it at my looping shows. So I'm using it 90% of the time, probably 80% of the time, as an acoustic guitar.
Okay.
For the odd lead or something here or there, I'll switch it over to the humbucker sound and do the electric thing. Now, I haven't used it in a band situation per se. I have a gig coming up actually Friday, April 2nd at Elevation 27 with my trio, and I'm going to bring this guitar. I'm probably there's one song in particular that I'm going to use it for if I can get the switching thing figured out. Playing this through a guitar amp, like a straight up like through my Supro or a Hi Watt or something, the acoustic sounds like an acoustic guitar played through a guitar amp.
Right,
It doesn't
right.
sound.
It's the same thing. Right.
Yeah. The electric sounds, the humbucking pickup, clean when it's on the clean setting, sounds as you would expect. Sounds like an electric guitar through an amp. So that sounds good. So I'm going to do like an A/B box thing and set up an acoustic rig and then have the other side go to my electric rig so I can use this and switch between an acoustic sound, kick on the A/B box, and run through my electric rig. That's what I plan on doing. I'm working that out. See if I can. I may not even do it. I haven't tried it. So that's on my to-do list for this week before the show.
Well, let me know, because if you do, I want to go out there and hear it.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely going to play it because we're planning on doing an acoustic. That's how the other night we got together and I took a couple of my band songs, like the rock songs, and we arranged them acoustically to do as an acoustic trio where my bass player played an upright bass, I played this, and the drummer just did like a kick snare hat thing, like a jazzy, a little more laid back vibe. So we plan on doing that at some point in the show. Do a little mini set of acoustic tunes, tunes that people who are familiar with our music, they'll know the songs, but it'll just be a reimagined version of the song, which we try and do every gig anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can't see you following tab.
No. We don't even write set lists. We played that 3.5 hour set, like no set list.
Jesus.
Yeah, I've been there. Not by choice either. Well, sometimes by choice.
I would say the guys in my band, the guys in the outfit, it's probably not their first choice either. But that's just the way I roll. I can't do it. I might as well punch a clock and work at Arby's if I'm going to write set lists and stuff out.
Well, we did. So we like the last couple of gigs because I have like for a long time I wasn't gigging and then I got back to gigging. When I was younger and in high school and like going into college and we were playing all the time, we were playing probably 2 weekends, 3 weekends a month.
Right.
We would play without a set list. We basically knew like some of these songs are going to be at the beginning and some of these would be at the end, but there was no set list. Then I got to be an adult. Now I'm playing in bars and stuff. There's always a set list. But the band I'm playing with right now, we never stick to it. In fact, when I joined up, they told me, I asked them, well, what's the typical set look like? We go in alphabetical order. I said, what? And they're like, well, the book's in alphabetical order, so we just flip through the book. And we've never played like that. That's never actually happened, but that's what I was told. So
that's pretty funny.
Yeah. People start drinking and then things just, they go by the wayside.
We do weird stuff. Like the other night, we were like, we said, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to do the set list and try and move in fifths. So if the first song ends in G, then the next song's going to be D. Next, you know what I mean? So we'll do weird stuff like that. Yeah. Or just, and try. I definitely always, when we're playing, I'm thinking, okay, what's the vibe of the crowd like?
That's what I look at. Yeah.
And then, when we end this song, we're going to end on this, and what's going to be like, how the young kids would say, what's going to make the beat drop? You know what I mean? Like, what are we going to do after that to go into the next thing? And I either always want to bring it up a notch or bring it way down.
Right. It's all about,
you know what I mean? Like do something like really, really contrast. So that's pretty much the way we do. We just kind of flop out the seat of our pants.
Well, that's the best way to do it, I think. I mean, when you start to get where it looks scripted, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you're Kiss, scripted, it works, right? And if you've got a big stage like, say, Shania Twain, I know the guy that plays for Shania Twain, you can't do your own thing. I mean, there's just no room for it, really.
Right.
So it's kind of like that. But when you're a trio on a stage, and that's a nice stage. I got to give them credit for that.
Yeah.
You can't have that, like, I'm going to fit you into the box between the Chiclets and the Racers type thing.
Right.
I like that. So before we leave Acoustasonic, I got to ask you 4 points I want to talk about, because there was 1 point that you had mentioned to me. You were like, it's the only thing that was a downside to you right at that point. So first of all, price. How do you feel about the price of it? And you can. It's okay. You bought it, so obviously
I bought
you're
it, yeah,
okay.
so I can speak with candor. Yeah, I can. Maybe if I talk nice, Fender will send me a black one. But
Yeah.
Good luck.
So one of the things I don't know if it's something they could do. It's got to, you have to charge it USB. I have it actually plugged in now. Lasts about I so far, knock on wood, I've done 2 acoustic gigs with it, and both of them were 3-hour gigs where I played for 3 hours and didn't have an issue where I had to plug it in. I have heard people say that when the battery dies, it just dies. There's no warning. There's a little light on here. I don't know. You might be able
but you'd have to look at the jack to see it.
Yeah, like you're looking at the bottom of your guitar all the time to make sure it's charged up. Yeah.
That's lit up. So it would have been kind of cool if there was a way, like maybe they could have put that where you could see it.
Yeah.
Like by the strap.
The other thing is, like on this particular, some of my favorite settings, you have the 5-way switch, and then you have the blend control. Okay, so blend control turned down, like your tone control down, is A, up is B. Okay, this is the Dreadnought, which I love the sound. Then if I want to go to acoustic and have go to electric and have it dirty, I have to go to 1 and turn this up. Then if I want to go back, I have to go here and turn this down.
So no presets.
Which I'm getting used to at the gigs. But what would be nice is if I wouldn't even have to assign, like you could keep the A and B positions of this, but let me choose which is A and which is B. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
So that way I can leave it here and just flip back and forth between my favorites. So that would have been cool. I don't know if that's something they could do software update, or what. So it's a little bit of a learning curve as far as that goes. If you have favorite things that you want to get to, just getting to them quick, facilitating that is a little tricky, in my opinion. I do find myself. Before I picked this up, I picked up one of the Fender Smolder pedals, the acoustic overdrive pedals.
Okay, yeah.
Which is a great overdrive too. So I left that in my acoustic rig. So if I'm doing this and I'm not getting into a part, I just want to do something with a flavor.
Yeah,
I could step on that. And have that a little bit of a drive sort of sound in there that I could get to. Which, I mean, this is a gear podcast, so we're gear junkies anyway. I kind of like having the pedal on the floor too, because then I'm like, well, it's another flavor. I actually have, how many acoustic guitars have 3 flavors of overdrive?
Yeah, exactly. None.
So yeah. So it's kind of worked out in that aspect, but yeah, I just wish there was a way you could set like favorites, like all my A, like pick what's in A and what's in B, and then put all my favorites in A and my secondaries on B. That would be nice. That would be a nice feature. I love all the sounds in it. I don't want to change them, but there's just a couple of go-tos, and I want to be able to get to them quicker.
That is something that maybe Fender should look at. I've first time anybody's brought it up, but certainly something that I thought about when I looked at it. I was like, okay, I got 5 settings, right? Well, actually 10, because you've got A and B, every one of them. So if I've got 10 settings, I don't know which one is which. And I got to remember, okay, I like this 3B, 1A,
right?
2, and yeah, it would be nice to just go, okay, my 5, because it's highly unlikely you're going to have more than 3 favorite settings that you're going to use.
And that's right on. That's pretty much. I have 3. I like now in the front position. The B version is supposed to be like a J45 on this. So you have like basically like I think it's like a D28,
right,
and then a J45, which to me is a little dobro. The J45 one, it's got a little bit. It's got that.
Has to do how that was mic'd up when they did the IR.
It's got a good honky thing to it. I like that sound too. Just don't use it all the time. So that's in a convenient place for me. It's really the drive thing. If I could get the drive and then the this is my drums.
That's cool that they added that. Now, was that in the Telecaster?
Yep. It's in the Tele and it's in the Strat. Yeah.
Okay.
So if I could have like the overdrive and my drums and the D28 kind of thing on A, I'm done. I'm perfect. I could, and the other ones I know I don't use as much, so I could switch however to them. It's not you know what I mean. But that'd be really my only two criticisms is switching, being able to pick your favorites, and then having a way to see, if there was just a little light in the sound hole or something.
Right. I'm surprised at that because I can't remember where I was watching. It was Anderton's or somebody where they were talking about, oh, there's a light. And I was like, oh, that's cool. But they didn't mention where the light was. And that's the thing that they always do at these, these YouTubers who are shills, who absolutely refuse to call themselves what they are. But these YouTubers that go out there and they're like, oh, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's been every one of them. The Acoustasonic Telecaster is fantastic. No, the Stratocaster is so much better. But I got to be honest with you. Now, of course, when they all say, "Oh, the Jazzmaster is the best," and I listen to them with the grain of salt because they're trying to sell me one, right?
Right.
And that's the end goal, right? Is for somebody to say, "Yeah, Jim picked one up," because. And so you were the first person that said,
if they're giving those guys guitars, then you would have to take that with a grain of salt. I mean, I don't know. I could say, for myself, I've had companies that will remain nameless, but I had a company give me a bunch of guitars, and I told them, I said, they're good guitars, and I wanted to help them out. They weren't, wouldn't be my go-to thing, but it just wasn't. It ended up not being a good. I just gave them their stuff back. I could have kept the free guitars, but I was like, look, I mean, I'm not. They're not going to be. My number ones, and if it's not a thing. So I'm not. I would hope that most people are that way. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I was going to do a follow-up video to mine because I didn't go over any of those negatives in my video on my YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. I wasn't really aware of them because I hadn't gigged the guitar yet. So I plan on doing a follow-up video of like, okay, here's, this is what I found at the gig. I've done a couple. I took my GoPro and videotaped a couple of video like I'm in 1985. I recorded a couple of gigs and with the GoPro so I could get some live. You could hear what it sounds like in a live context and stuff too. But and then I wanted to do like a follow-up real world post-review.
Yeah, because that's one of the things that a lot of the YouTube reviewers lack is they don't necessarily put them through their paces in a live setting, and they rarely comment on it. Like I've heard a lot of guys say things like, "Oh, this is a great couch guitar," with regards to these. So that's why see it. The real world thing is a huge boon for me because when I'm buying something, the last thing I want to hear about is what you do in your living room.
Yeah, I don't give two shits. I mean, so there's my hummingbird right there. And that's really when I just want to play, not plug in, I'm grabbing that because, no offense to the Acoustasonic, doesn't have a great acoustic sound. And
no, I mean, this is.
Yeah, and that's actually my biggest criticism of it is that there are other guitars on the market that do what the Acoustasonic does, except that they don't do it with IRs. The Taylor T5, I think, and then there's the Gibson. Or not Gibson, the Godin A6.
Oh yeah,
I was looking at that one too. I was looking at the Godin.
Yeah,
I think acoustically, honestly, this one I think it does the acoustic thing better than those two. The Taylor one's great too. I know the guy who designed the Taylor worked on this with Fender. Yeah, I think this is more of a realization of what he was going for with the Taylor. Or it's just, he's been around the block. So
he's done it before.
All right, this is how I can make it. Yeah, this is how I can make it better. My main thing with this was, and you had touched on it earlier, was the price. Because it's not a cheap guitar.
No.
By any means. You know what I mean?
Neither is the Taylor. I mean, that's
none of them that we just mentioned are. None of them.
No,
not even the Godin. Yeah.
Well, the Gooden, I think is it Gooden or Godin?
It's Godin.
Godin. I mean, I've seen them. I was looking around on Reverb. I mean, I've seen them for under $1,000. You can get one for
they're about $1,200 new. They're not terribly expensive.
They're still not cheap.
No,
they're not cheap.
$500.
But this is twice the price.
Yeah.
And and that was my thing. I'm like, well, do I want to spend that kind of money? I mean, I think we had, when we were texting back and forth and first talking about it, I said, or we might have talked about it at the LB Tavern show, was the price point that this is at. Part of me was like, dude, I could almost score a nice old 335. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like a 70s. Yeah, I know. I see it back there, bro. I've been coveting it the whole time we're talking. But I'm like, I could get like something like that. You know what I mean? For what I would pay for this, and on the electric gigs, 3 Mile Smile the whole time. Do I want to pay that much for something that's a tool? You know, like when I was talking to my wife about it, she gets to hear me lament on gear all the time.
Yep, I know the feeling.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you get, you should have known this. My wife met me at a gig. You should have known. You should have known what you signed up for. But I was like, it's kind of like, all right, I could buy this cool old used Chevelle. You know what I mean? And, just not drive it all the time, but when I drive it, it's going to be sick. Or I could buy this brand new minivan that's way more practical and utilitarian, will make my day-to-day life easier. Generally I would be, putting a car seat in the Chevelle. That's the way that's normally the type of person that I am, This was sort of that same thing, but I can say after doing a couple of gigs with it, I'm extremely happy that I did it. It sounds great plugged in. It sounds great at a gig. It plays really easy. Way less feedback issue. Almost no feedback issues with it. You know what I mean? As with an acoustic guitar, you got feedback issues. So again, with the looping thing, I sing. So if I have my Yamaha, which I love the Yamaha because it's an A series, great sounding acoustic guitar, great acoustic guitar. But sometimes I'll find when I'm looping, I live loop, so I'll be recording something as I'm playing, and my vocals will get picked up by the resonance of the guitar, and then you could hear it in the background of the loop. That doesn't happen with this guitar, or it hasn't happened with this guitar yet. So it's way more rejective of outside, things with in regards to the sound that it's putting out. So that's been another thing I wasn't considering when I bought it, but just having used it, it's a good feature on it.
It's been a bit since I picked one up. They had the the body of the guitar, like the actual wood that's made out of, is a lot thicker because it's actually carved out of a solid piece.
Right.
If I recall. And that's a big part of it, is that there's nothing there. Like when you have a like basically what amounts to a veneer, that's the front of your guitar, it's going to resonate like hell. I mean,
oh yeah.
So it's a different animal. Actually, I was telling Jim, I think that my biggest problem is there's no neck pickup. And if I could get away with like the Strat one with a neck pickup, I don't use the bridge neck anyway. If they did away, if they did away with the sound hole, like I'd be all in. I would just, because it would be so much lighter and so much easier to deal with, and the piezo would be great, with the IRs. So,
oh yeah,
yeah. I wonder if they'll ever do one where they put a neck pickup in. That would be an interesting,
a good thing for them to do.
So let me ask you this, Anthony, because you've been playing it, you've been using it, and you've had a couple weeks take it around the block and really drive it. And so let me ask you this about your new Chrysler Pacifica there in your lap, because you're the one that mentioned the minivan thing, so we'll go with that. So no, but so let me ask you this about it. tone, control. I'm a guy who not only rides the volume, I'll ride my tone control as well. I'll back off the tone and put in the tone. How much control do you have of the tone? And I don't do that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not doing that with my acoustic, so I don't expect that in the acoustic.
You don't. There's no tone. You have tonal options as far as switching between the A and B, but as far as like rolling a tone control down or something, you do not have that.
I mean, most of the time in an acoustic, you're not going to do that very much.
No, but I mean, most of I will say, like my acoustics, like my gigging acoustics, are pretty much set it and forget it. Once I got them dialed in, where I'm comfortable and I like them, I pretty much leave them that way, and they stay that way. I may fine tune some things at a gig, very small adjustments. That's something I have on my M9. I'll put like a graphic EQ. Mm-hmm. So if I have to do some adjustments like that with this, I will say, knock on, I haven't had to do that. It's one of those weird things where it's like, if I like electric guitars, or my cigar box guitar, right, that I made. I was just talking about that this weekend. Somebody was asking me, like, they're like, that's got to be a really hot pickup in there. I'm like, no, it's just a Telecaster. It's just a Tele pickup, but it's wired to one volume and a jack. There's no tone control. There's no capacitor. Right. There's nothing in there. It's almost as wide open as you could get. So it sounds really hot. Okay. Yeah. It's got a really, and it is what it is. It sounds like what it is, Esquires are the same kind of thing. I love Esquires. I love not having a neck pickup on those guitars and just having the option to have volume to output jack, to get everything out of the way. This is kind of the same thing, like where it just sounds good. Like, and I paid for it. This is not shill talk. Literally just sounds good. It's so usable that I've been surprised. I've been really surprised how good it is.
I personally know your salesman. I know you paid for it.
Yeah.
DC and I are.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So overall, we've talked about the price, we've talked about the performance, we've talked about your workflow. So overall, if you were to say to somebody, they were looking for that kind of thing, because I used to have the Godin A6 style thing back in the day, and I loved it. I said, don't ask me. I'm one of those idiots who sold more things than I own. And
so you're like every guitar player. You're every guitar player. That's
yeah. Except I've sold some stuff. I'm like, you moron, and that's one of those ones.
That's the only difference.
Yeah, and I've been trying to buy a lot of it back.
Listen, I've been looking for an Area Pro. I've been looking for like a 1987 Area Pro SL Series Strat for a couple months. I'm trying to find, because it was my first guitar, and I sold it, and I wish I never would have. I traded it for another Area Pro, like a fake Area Pro Explorer, like a pointy guitar, and I wish I didn't do that. It was such a better guitar.
Yep, it's somehow we never get the magic back. You know what I mean? We never really find that magic thing. I had a piece of garbage for a first guitar. It was one of those closet things from literally either the like late 50s, early 60s. It was one of those ones that they had the amplifier in the case.
Oh yeah, Silvertone kind of thing.
Yeah, the Silvertone. It was a Silvertone from right out of the Sears catalog. Probably cost $40. But I think it was like $60 with the case and the thing back then, which was a lot of money back then. And my uncle gave it to me, and I Jimi Hendrixed it. I didn't just get rid of it. I burned it alive.
Oh wow!
I got a Les Paul Custom.
Well,
and now I've been like, thank God I found this one, because I love this Les Paul. But let me tell you something. I've gone through some Les Pauls. I went through like maybe 20 of them in my lifetime, and that one my mother sold on me. When I went in the Navy, my mother sold it. So it's one of those things where, and she thought she was doing me a favor, I'm sure. But I don't look back. I don't look back and say, well, I could find a 79 Les Paul Custom. First of all, 79 Les Paul Custom, thanks to Adam Jones from frickin' Tool or whatever it is, you can't get one for less than like $8,000 now. but I'm never going to get that sound back anyway, and I'm never going to be 17 and
Right.
16, 17 when I bought it. So I'll never have that feeling with it again. So I fell in love with this Les Paul, and I'm sticking to it. So these are my 4 number ones. But so I got to ask you, because you were out there, and we're going to go into your rigs now. I want to talk about your different rigs, because so when I saw you, you were playing at first I was like, oh, he's got a Les Paul Gold Top, and then I went, no, that's not Gold Top. What? And then I thought, oh, is that a PRS? And I said, no, that headstock's wrong. That's not a PRS. And then something happened to it. I'll ask you about that later, because your techs were in there. They had the flashlights, and they were fixing it there. You're a sound guy and the other guy. Yeah, you had something go on. I don't know if with the volume knob or the tone knob, but
no. It was. I broke a string, and the ball end of the string was stuck in the tailpiece.
Oh,
that's what they were trying to get.
Yeah, they couldn't get it out. And I was joking them. I was like, that's because I play like a man, bro. When you bend strings like that, this is metal on metal, bro. You can't, it's just one of those things that happens. It happens. It happened to my Les Paul. It happens, every once in a while.
Yeah. So what? That's not actually a Gibson. That's
no.
Is that another one?
That's a Worth guitar. Tony Whitford over here in Norfolk, he built that for me. He's a great guitar builder. I mean, anybody in a 757 looking for a guitar, if you're looking for, in my opinion, if you're looking for an F-style guitar, custom F-style guitar, Michael Reese, that's the guy to see for a bolt-on neck guitar. He builds great stuff. He built my telly, built 2 tellies for me, and he built me a Stratocaster. Great guitars. And they do what is supposed to be done. They do it right. If you're looking for a set neck style guitar, Worth guitars, I highly recommend. The guy makes great stuff. I've been over to his shop a bunch of times. My good friend Steve Stevens, he does all the wiring and stuff there. Their attention to detail is, unsurpassed. I mean, he goes through and he'll tap test wood blanks and check resonant frequencies for necks and bodies to see what matches good, what he feels matches good. And he pairs them together, and he has them together in his workshop. You know what I mean? And then he'll double check it once the body's cut out of a blank, make sure it's still, it's the real deal. It's the real deal, man. They make great guitars. And for the price point, you're going to get basically what you would pay for an off-the-shelf production model, mass-produced, high-end mass-produced guitar. You're going to get a bespoke, high-end, very small quantity produced guitar that is what you want. This is what I would like. This is what I want. These are the ideas I have. How can you make this happen in this guitar? You know what I mean? He's a super nice guy, super cool guy. And it's a hand done thing. Hand done. They're hand done. I know he did just get a CNC machine over there. So I think he's trying to get another line together that's maybe not hand done, but like my neck, hand carved on that guitar. Hand carved neck, the body's hand done by hand. Like he did everything by hand. He put that gold top on. He put like 3 different gold tops on it. And I didn't even see the first 2 because he just wasn't happy with them.
Jeez.
He just wasn't happy. He was like, I'm not happy with the way it came out. I'm not happy with the way it came out. I don't, it doesn't have to be perfect. I kind of want it to look a little old. You know? I want it to look a little beat up. It's going to get beat up. I abuse my instruments. I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm that guy. Yeah.
You actually play them,
Yeah.
I play them, and I've always liked that. I mean, going back to the card thing, I've always been more of like, instead of like a classic restoration guy, I was always more into the sleepers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like like that. You rumble up, and it looks like the door's gonna fall off.
Exactly.
But you blow everybody else's doors off when the light goes green. That's that's kind of more of my vibe. So I'm the same way with guitars. I don't mind if they're beat up. I like them when they're beat up a little bit.
Yeah, those guitars. Okay, I got to tell you, do you have that telly handy? Do you have it where you can grab it? Because I got to tell you, that thing. I do not.
I could go out to the truck and grab it.
That
that's all right. You can
space right
send
there.
me a picture.
All right.
your rehearsal space that's your backdrop. I'm assuming it's your rehearsal space. Looks better than some of the stages I can play on.
I know, right?
It's sad to like.
This is my rehearsal shithole.
Yeah. Well, I don't have my party lights on.
This is a product of COVID, and this was with last year when COVID happened. I was like doing some live stream stuff, and that was how I, and a quick shout out and thank you to everybody who tuned into those live streams when I was doing them, because they would send me money on PayPal and give, we're very generous with tips, and it literally fed my family for like the first 3 months of not gigging. It literally did. It was people put food on my table, so I thank them for that. But when I did it, I was like, as much as I like to shoot for the hip and do all these things live and like quirky stuff and stuff that's maybe not so perfect, I was seeing a lot of live streams, and I'm like, dude, you could have moved the paint cans. You know what I mean? Like, it was a weed whacker hanging on a wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I wanted to have it at least look kind of cool, and if people were going to tune in, because my thing was not necessarily, and again, I'm super grateful for the tips, but I wasn't wanting to necessarily panhandle. I was more wanting to give people something to take their mind off of everything that was going on.
Sure.
So I'm like, the best way to do that is make them experience a show. I want you to experience. It's a show. It's a concert. It should look like you're seeing a show at a club on your TV. It should look like you're seeing a show. So I kind of, I just did a little work in the rehearsal space here and dressed it up a little.
I'm going to steal some of your ideas, Anthony, because I've been thinking about you can see this. What I've got is this is a canvas, believe it or not. Thor canvas to.
Oh yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it. I can't see it, but I can see that. I mean, the guitars in the back look cool. Your lighting's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this right here, where you can see this guy's eyes, can you see that?
No, I can't see it.
Okay.
Your hand,
well,
anyway. I can see, yeah.
Yeah.
Your hand disappears off frame.
Oh, it does. Okay. So you can only see like to here, maybe?
Right there. Gone. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I've got this big Thor poster that's sitting here, and it's a canvas. And I'm like, all right, I need to replace that and put something more rock and roll. And I was thinking maybe getting like a Pink Floyd wall, and then getting a set of curtains and doing the wall. But is that a faux? That wall behind you, is that faux wood or is that actual it's paneling, but
it's actual. It's actual. I went to I had all this time on my hands with COVID and stuff. So I've been riding a motorcycle a lot and doing stuff. But I actually got in my truck and I drove down to the crossroads, like down in Mississippi, and there was a trapper shack, like a plantation shack there. So I went up and I asked the guy on the farm. It was just falling apart, So he said I could take whatever wood I wanted.
Cool.
Oh.
So I just went and I pulled a bunch of the wood off and then brought it back up here to Virginia and just nailed it all up. So I kind of have a little bit of that mojo, back here on the wall.
Very cool.
That is cool. Plus where it came from. That is cool.
I wish it was true. I'm just messing with you. I'm totally. I got it from Home Depot. It's just bad.
I figured.
What an asshole!
You should just let the vibe go, man. Like,
yeah, man.
Add some.
Our listeners would have freaking fell for it too.
My Acoustasonic, it's a custom shop, man. It's made out of Robert Johnson's shack himself.
This wood back here is actually from from where Robert Johnson was actually poisoned. That's where
that's funny.
Have you guys heard the story? So like, their legend has it that that Eric Johnson has his original pedal board from like the early 90s was made out of the shack. And I'm like, that's crap. Right, yeah. Like, there's no way.
It could be. I know Muddy Waters has. Not Muddy Waters. Billy Gibbons has a guitar made out of wood from the shack on Stovall Plantation that Muddy Waters grew up in.
Yeah,
he has a guitar made out of wood from that.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, but I mean, it's Billy.
Yeah, I mean, what does Billy Gibbons have at this point?
Yeah, Billy comes from money. I think it was his father was a famous director or something for Hollywood and stuff.
Oh, really?
Way back, yeah, oh yeah, back in the 40s and 50s. So he comes from money. He comes from a lot, which is why the band is pretty funny. But so I gotta tell our listeners, Anthony actually does ride a bike. By the way, he rides a Triumph, which is a cool band name. I was thinking of naming my band Triumph.
No, don't. Do
Yeah,
that.
I moved to Canada.
Yeah. But great three-piece. So all right. So obviously we've talked about your guitars a little bit, and now I'd like to ask you about. Oh, that's funny though. I still gotta ask those guys how they got that how that thing was stuck in there, because I'm thinking that shouldn't be stuck in ever. That should have been easy to get out.
That must have been stuck in Strats and everything else. It just happens.
Well, Strats I can see because you got that through body thing. I've got that. But I've never had one stick in a Tone Pro style bridge, so that's kind of funny. I'd love to
buy a Shengzai.
Well,
that thing is a piece of shit.
to be fair, like I don't change my string. I change my strings as they break. Yeah. I rarely. I do. I don't really. I told her I'm bad like that with my. I don't really change my my strings out unless they break. So it could have been one that was on there for forever. When I was talking to the guy about the cigar box this weekend, my bass player was asking me. He's like, "Man," I said, "Yeah, that actually cigar box. I made that. I was actually still in a cover band at the time when I made that guitar, and but that guitar has seen the most work out of. That's been on every single gig that I've played since like 2011. I've played that guitar at every single gig since 2011. I think I've changed the strings maybe 3 times. Like you could get tetanus from those strings.
Yeah. That was my first guitar. I think I got tetanus from it. So what is your? I was there. I saw your rig. You got a beautiful high watt. You had the what was the other one? I think you had a Supro on the side.
Supro,
yeah, on the side. So were you doing a wet dry thing? And I didn't really look at your pedal board. I didn't want to be one of those guys,
I was running them both at the same time. The Supro and a high watt. The high watt is a custom 20. I actually that BC we did summer NAMM. I was the NAMM guy for high watt.
Oh, okay.
And played through all their stuff. Of course, the DRs are great amps, sound amazing. But that little custom 20, man, that high watt custom 20, and it's the loudest 20 watt amp that it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's ridiculous loud. I barely had the master volume cracked on that at that thing, okay? Great sound and full clean with a little grunt, amp. So they hooked me up with that. High watt hooked me up with that. I love it. And then the Supro, I met the Supro guys when I was at NAMM too. My friend Brian is over at Supro, great guy. And before I did the Seeger tour, they had reached out to me and they were like, "Hey, you want to take Supro with you?" So I was like, "Yeah, well, what do you suggest?" And I went down. I tried out a couple of amps down at Alpha Music, and the one that I ended up with is the Galaxy, Supro Galaxy.
Oh yeah.
And it's got the Galaxy has the clean channel is I believe it's Keeley designed the clean channel. So they have an amp. They have a Robert Keeley amp. Right. Supro does. So the clean channel on the Galaxy is a 50 watt. It's got the clean channel is a Keeley one where it's got volume, tone, and reverb. Just one tone control, and reverb. Great pedal platform. And then it's got a gain side, which is I believe a Zelinsky designed gain stage, which is a great sounding gain stage. And when I first got it, I was doing a Seeger tour. Some nights I would just use the gain stage in the Supro as my main drive. I'd get both amps kind of barking a little bit because you're playing Madison Square Garden. It's not like they're going to tell you to turn down.
Yeah, right.
You really could be as loud.
He's just barking a little bit. I'd have him all the way up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I totally. Yeah, it was like I remember I was like, "Is this okay?" They're like, "I mean, you go louder. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
You sure? So anyway, I had them cranked, and so you get that nice chunky, barky, clean channel, but it's working, And then I would use some nights I would use the gain channel to push me over the top for solos on the Galaxy. Some nights I just use something on my board. At the time, I was using an exotic BB Plus, and I had a Love Pedal Les Lias.
Okay.
I was using. I kind of go back and forth between. I'm always switching stuff around. Like my board is, so I'm constantly ripping stuff off. So yeah, I was doing that, and the show that we just did, and what I've been using a lot lately is running both amps. Now I'm just using the Keeley channel on the Supro.
Yep.
And I'm using a right now my board, my chain is going through a Snake's Pedals Fuzzano, which is like a fuzz that this guy, my tech actually made for me. It's I don't even know. I don't even know what it's based off of, but it's a great sound and fuzz. No tone control. It's just got volume, gain, and then there's a bias control, so you can starve the battery. Do
Sounds
that
like a
starve
fuzz
battery
base.
thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what he did was he put a second on mine. He put a second foot switch with a second bias control, so I could set the two bias controls to have this same fuzz but different flavors. You know what I mean? I can get that battery, and I usually leave one all the way off where it's like spitting and gated, and all these overtones, and then I have the other one sort of to taste. And then I've got going into a full drive octave fuzz. I just got a Masmalo, full drive Masmalo, which I like a lot. I like that pedal a lot. So there's my three fuzzes, my three main fuzzes. And then for my drives, I'm a stacker. So even if I'm using a dirty amp, I like to stack. I like the ability to stack another gain stage and an amp.
Yep.
So right now I'm using a trying to remember my board where it goes through. So it comes out of Masmalo into the SL drive from Exotic Effects. I got an Exotic Effects SL drive. Out of that into an MXR Timmy. Out of the Timmy into there's these three kind of switch out. These last slot has been switching out. Currently, I have an EP as my final gain stage. Okay. Love the EP booster. What I really like about the EP booster is into a clean amp, cranking it up and pushing that amp. But I'm not using it that way on my board currently. I'm using it just to give me a little bit of a lift for solos. I have the same guy, Snake, who made my fuzz. He made me a Klon type pedal, so I'll sometimes have that in there.
Yep.
And then there's another one, Carmadon Electronics. They also make a Klon type pedal that has a separate bass control, which is a great sound in Klon. I thought I had it down here. I should. That's a great sound in Klon, or clone, I should say. But
Bill would be
it's
mad.
A big format. What's that?
I said Bill would be mad. Bill Finnegan.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a clone. But it's got it's a great sounding clone, but it's a large format. So on the board that I have now, it's just not on there because of that. Otherwise, that would probably be my final gain stage. Timmy stays on almost all the time. I love Timmy. That pretty much stays on all the time. And varying for rooms, what I like about it is, like the Old Beach Tavern show, I was loud, but I couldn't be as loud as I wanted. So I'll use that to add a little gain to the front end of the amp, just a smidge,
Yep.
If I'm able to be as loud as I want, I generally will take the gain down, and I sort of leave it unity as far as volume, but it's more I use the Timmy like a gain / EQ shaper for my other drives.
Right.
So I'll cut some of the high end and boost the bass. You know what I mean? Well, not because the Timmy's boot is cut only, so I cut a little bit of bass out, and then I cut a more high end out, so I don't get that fizzy thing.
Yeah.
With the drives.
It's like a really
and then I
mild
usually
tube
run my
screamer.
amp right. What's that?
It's kind of like a mild tube screamer. You're rolling off some of the stuff you don't want to come through. With the tube screamer just lets all the mids through and cuts everything else.
Right. Yeah, and this is not what I like about the Timmy is it doesn't have that mid hump necessarily.
Right.
It's just sort of keeps the mids flat, which I like.
Just similar fashion to the way you use it, though. Because
yeah. Right. But that's pretty much my board down, and I got an HX effects that I'm running.
Yeah.
Which I have like 2 presets on, and they're almost the same. I don't really.
I noticed that.
Yeah, I don't really change. I got it, and one of the reasons why I got it was having all this flexibility with routing and stuff, and because I'm sometimes I use a dirty channel on an amp. I haven't needed to do that yet. You know what I mean? But I basically on the HX 6 slots, I'll have a delay. I usually will. One of the presets has a looper. I keep a looper on there for the band gigs because it's cool to do some harmony stuff, or like if I just want to pad, They have a setting on the HX called Poly Sustain. It's in the new software update, which is like a delay, but it does that. It's like the what's that electro harmonics pedal? The freeze.
Yeah.
Excuse me. It does that. So I'll use that more as my pad thing now. And then the looper I have on there in case I want to do like a harmony. If we're doing it like the Zeppelin, I usually, I'll do this and ramble on, like do the. So I'll leave the looper on there so I can do stuff like that. Yep. Mimic 2 guitars. And then an octave, a low octave, and some kind of like swirly. Either I like harmonic trem a lot, and I also like I have an old Magnetone that has a vibrato that is amazing.
Okay, yeah.
And I like a vibrato too. See one that kind of thing. So it's pretty much and the other preset is the same thing, but instead of having the looper, whammy pedal, white kind of, doing like a theremin, big theremin, is on that setting. So that's pretty much it. I heard you. So much in that box.
Yeah, I think I heard you use that the theremin type thing. When I was at the old beach, you were using one of those weird ones.
I probably was,
because you had almost like a porno thing going on. The brown chicken, brown cow, but I knew you weren't using a wah pedal, so I was like, yeah, he's got something in there. So, the gear, obviously, fantastic gear. So you brought up Seeger because I kind of mentioned earlier. So obviously you've been writing songs for a long time. You joked around. You're actually good at bullshitting people, by the way, because you did that song "Jump Around."
Oh yeah,
so David, the way he introduced it was, I wrote this song in the '80s, and they changed it up on me, but I hope you still like it. They did a rockin' version of "Jump Around." Pretty cool. Everybody loved it. One of the things that I want to talk about was, I've got to be honest with you. So I only recognize like that and one other cover, which I think, two, because I recognized War Pigs, which I knew right away. But the only other cover I really
we keep War Pigs. Yeah,
that was very nicely done. And I got to be honest with you. I think you milked 1 drink or 2 drinks all night long. And your voice was as strong at the end as it was, at least orally,
thank you.
As it was in the beginning. And I know that's not hard or easy to do. I know I've been that guy. So I got to ask you this: And the only other one, I think you did a Dare Hall John Oates one earlier in the night.
Yeah, we did Sarah Smile. Which
Yeah.
coincidentally was so the way that gig worked out, I was not wanting to. I don't want to say not want to do the gig, but the whole wedding party thing. When I found out they were there, I'm like, oh, this is going to be, And there was some kids outside that were in a wedding party, and they were breaking my balls, and they were like trying to be like, they weren't saying free bird, you know what I mean?
Right.
Might as well.
But they were like, hey, we heard and whatever, dude. I don't even know. Like, I don't want to. Like, there was this whole vibe of like, we heard this famous guy or whatever is coming, to I don't know how it was, whatever sold to them. I don't subscribe to any of that kind of BS. But anyway, so they were trying to break my chops a little bit. And the guy's like, hey man, will you be able to do some Hall and Oates for the bride and groom? I said, actually, I'm going to start with some Hall and Oates. I'll start with Hall and Oates for you guys. Okay. So I was kind of like, this is the gig gods throwing me a bone here. I kind of like to get my foot in the door and win this crowd over that I'm not expecting to win over. I'm going to start with Sarah Smiles because we've been doing it anyway. We do it like it's, it starts out kind of R&B, but then ends up I got like 3 fuzz pedals going, and you know what I mean? And make it all solo gets a little crazy, and I sing it like me. I don't sing it like, Daryl's Place. I sing it like Rosano. So, we did it. They loved it, whatever. So, but yeah, we didn't do many covers. I think we did 3 covers in that whole 3.5 hours. I do some teases like we do. We might like in the jam do a piece of a Santana song, or I might throw in a melody line from something else. You know what I mean? Just as like a little, because if I'm getting weird and getting out there, I want to kind of give people something that they can grasp onto. You know what I mean? Like, where they can be like, oh, that's familiar. You know what I mean? I want to give them a landmark, Yeah,
you did that with Steely Dan. You brought it in. You did like a bit of the Steely Dan thing, but you did your own thing when you went out, which was
because there's no keyboard player. So what know what I mean? What you got? It was Do It Again. We did. That was one of the. That was
that's it.
So all right. So what do we got? Where are we at? We're at 4 again. I don't know. I don't write a set. It was just so we got the jump around thing, War Pigs, Steely Dan, and Sarah Smiles.
Yeah.
So I think that might have been it as far as actual, doing cover tunes for the 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Steely Dan, you got a 3-piece band. How are you going to do Steely Dan with a 3-piece band? Well, you just gotta, and I try and play like, I seen an interview with Billy Joel one time, and Billy Joel was talking about when he used to play his mom. He was like bailing on his piano lessons. And his mom would be like, can you play me some Bach? Play me some Bach or play me some Mozart. And he was like, and I didn't know any because I've been bailing on my lessons. He's like, but my ear, I knew how to play Bach-ish. And I would just play something that sounded like that, right? So I approach a lot of things that same kind of way where it's like, okay, Steely Dan song, I don't have a keyboard player on stage, but I can play keyboard-ish. You know what I mean? I could throw a tremolo on and change the way I play things a little bit, play behind, closer to the bridge. You get that plinky thing going on. So, I try and do the same kind of thing is get ish with all the, the different sounds.
Use the piano chord voicings and stuff like that to get.
Yeah. I mean, I try. I don't know. I'm not copping out, but I'm not like a big. I got friends that know theory, and they'll joke. They'll be like, theory, you just don't know theory, but you know what I mean.
Yes, yes. I hear the same thing all the time, and I don't know theory either. But I know more than I think I do. I don't know.
Yeah,
I know it, but
okay. If I do this and I let this ring against this, it's going to sound more, piano-ish or more,
Right.
But that's kind of what we do. You know what I mean? And having the freedom and the ability to do that is great.
I know just enough theory to make myself dangerous. So, and I'm trying to get, Sean Parker, right?
Very dear friend of mine.
Yeah, I got to get back in the room with him because he was my instructor, and he's been teaching me some things to to improve my my ability to break out of the box, so to speak.
Right.
Because one of the things that is awesome about you guys, and I want to talk about your band in a second. First, I want to talk about this, and that is that you break the mold. You guys, as a group, and of course yourself, you break the mold of the expectation that you have to do covers and sprinkle originals, and you're exact opposite. You're doing originals, sprinkling covers. And one of the things that I think it's great. It's dangerous for people to hear because I'll be like, I've been in bands in this area, and unfortunately, I've always been in that band that gets just at the cusp of things, and then some a-hole cheats on his wife and loses everything and has to sell his gear or something, and I'm starting over. But what I was going to get at is, you've been doing this a long time. I mean, you've been playing this stuff. And you work the circuit in Long Island, which I have friends up in Long Island too that still work in that circuit. I mean, the guys that used to be in the Stars, they're still up there.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot of famous people are up there, and they'll play. They'll show up and play gigs. And of course, we got Rishi Castellano. He's still up there doing the thing with Blue Oyster Cult. He's still doing stuff up there. And then you come down here, where this is a little bit different. I mean, we've got a few people, and you're breaking that mold. You're doing the original thing. But I think what people forget is when you do your originals, and I wanted to talk about this because it's probably part of that songwriting thing that you do, is your stuff isn't so far out there, it's not reachable. I mean, I watched people get up and dance. The bride, the groom, when I took my head breaks, they were like, "Oh man, this band really rocks," so on and so forth. And well, I was trying to take a pee, but I don't know what. But anyway, that's the thing that happens in the men's room, right? You get caught up in conversations. But I was wearing what I found out was I was wearing my Coast Guard stuff because I worked as a civilian for the Coast Guard for a while.
Oh, okay.
And the guy goes, "Oh, you were in the Coast Guard?" I was in, the wedding guy, the groom was in the Coast Guard, so that's how they were like, "Oh man," they felt comfortable talking to me, and a couple of them were in the Coast Guard. So anyway, so what I was getting at is your music is not inaccessible. You're not trying to write songs that are, "Look at me, I'm Anthony Rosano, and I'm so different. You're never going to enjoy my stuff." You're like, I do songs, and they're blues-based rock and roll. You're still doing the blues rock and roll of. I mean, you could write these same exact songs in the '70s, and they still would have been good. They still would have been up there with the guys that are like Free and those guys that are.
Don't tell the Strokes.
Thank you.
Yeah, that are doing that kind of like open, free thing. You got that Paul Kossoff almost vibe with a little bit of more built in and stuff like that. And I just want to say, so how do you look at, you're getting ready to write a song. How does Anthony Rosano, he wakes up in the morning, he's like, I got a song. I got to record this. What does Anthony Rosano do, and how do those songs come about?
It's usually, I will usually get like a little spark. It generally starts with a line, with one line. So usually that's how it is, or an idea, or I'll be talking to somebody and I'll get an idea from the conversation. Like Love's Got a Hold on Me. You know what I mean? That's one of my songs, and I was talking to a buddy of mine on the phone, and he was getting engaged. I've been married for 24 years. So he was kind of, don't ask me for advice. You know what I mean? I'm like, but it's just like any other thing, any other kind of relationship. It's a complete, it's a dichotomy of compromise. You are going to want to go out with your friends and do things, and that's okay. And you should be able to do that, but you're probably going to feel guilty about doing that. And she might, feel bad about you doing that, and that's okay. But, whatever, like it just was whole thing. And that dichotomy, that was what turned into, and I ended up telling him, but I wouldn't change it, my situation for the world. I wouldn't change my situation for the world. The good, the bad, it is what it is. And that's, you know what I mean? I wouldn't change it. So that's how love got a hold on me, the lyrics. You know, love is happiness, love is guilt, love is a prison your heart is eager to build. It's a lustful smile and tears of rage. Love is like a lion with a kingdom for a cage. That's the first verse of it. And I wanted to do the whole point of the song is to do that. It's everything's opposite. It's good, it's better, but it's really got a hold on me. Love's got a hold on me. So that's really how it is. And as far as, you know, and I'm humbled that you would get from what we did performing, because we do so much improv and there's so much guitar noodling, you know what I mean? That but I am not a look at me. Well, I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy at all. I'm not playing. I'm not doing anything I'm doing has nothing to do to impress anybody. I'm trying to connect with human beings. I'm trying to connect with people with music. That's what I'm trying to do. So that's what does it for me for music. I listen to music I connect with. That you know, I don't listen to stuff that I'm like. I mean, yeah, there's guitar players, of course, that are like, man, that guy's ridiculous. You know, go on Instagram.
Yeah, we've had some in that seat.
You could spend the rest of your life watching 30 seconds at a time of guitar players that will make you want to give up playing because they're just so technically proficient. You know what I mean? But that serves a different thing for me. You know what I mean? That's a different kind of entertainment. The things that I like most are, like you said, Paul Kossoff and Free. You know, his vibrato will change your molecular structure, bro. You know what I mean? Like it's that. That's what I'm looking to do. So, and you know, the songs I tend to write, they're not complex arrangements. The arrangements are, you know what I mean? I don't like necessarily that kind of thing. For me, I like listening to something. I love Rush. I like, you know what I mean? Grew up on Long Island. I seen Dream Theater in little clubs before they were doing anything. You know what I mean? And I loved it. But you know, it's just not what I'm good at. It's not my thing. And I think my purpose musically is to try and facilitate a connection with people. You know, it's a whole thing. We're in this together. You know what I mean? We're here tonight together. Let's do this together. You know, I'm going to be hopefully supplying the soundtrack to your good time. And, you're going to give me the energy to have a good time with what I'm doing. So that's my whole thing. That's what I feel like we do.
It's really cool. And actually your sentiment is very much like many of the other people that have sat in your seat on the show before, where it's like, we've had people on both sides of the aisle, right? So we actually had Michelangelo Badio was on the show. Of course, he's known for being
that's killer, yeah.
Technically proficient guy. And we've also had people that are technically proficient, but will sit there and say, you know, I can do all this crazy nonsense, but if I can't tell a story with what I'm doing, it's irrelevant. And so I think Jim's reaction is, you know, what you would consider noodling at least has musical value to it because you're saying something. There's a statement there that's coming out.
Oh, well, thank you guys. Yeah, I mean, and then to clarify, like I'm not knocking proficient play. You know what I mean?
It's its own thing, right?
And I can't do that. Believe me, I've sat down and tried to, you know, learn the, you know, I mean, like, dude, I do it for like a couple seconds and then I'm like, what am I doing, dude? You know?
Yeah, it's not singing with the instrument. Like, believe me, and I'm the guy that's the total opposite. Like, I sit there and just woodshed stuff, and I'll get.
I wish I could do it. I don't have the discipline. I don't have. Yeah, I don't have the discipline, or you know what I mean, or whatever. It is what it is. It's, you know.
Yeah, David and I are total opposites. I'm the guy who you know, plays a regular blues stuff. I stick with the pentatonic scale. I know I do what I know. David can play circles around a lot of people, and right. he is very humble about it. Believe me, because if you heard the guy play, you'd be like, "Oh,
I need to learn to say things." That's what I need to learn to do: make statements and say things. That's my choice.
Right. And there's guys that, like, you know, I'm sure you're one of them where that are, you know, like Marty Friedman. I think is an incredible, like when you're talking about vibrato and stuff. So Marty Friedman is one of those dudes where, like, yeah, he can play all that fast stuff. But the vibrato on like that record, what was it? The Megadeth one, the first one he was on.
It escapes me.
Holy Wars of Punishment Due is on it.
Was it Rust in Peace?
Rust in Peace. Yeah. Rust in Peace.
Yeah.
A landmark guitar record for sure. and his vibrato and stuff on there and his no choice is insanely good.
Yeah.
Is insanely good. Alex Skolnick's another one of those guys that I think is a perfect player. He's an amazing, he's great, you know what I mean? And dude, like Paul Gilbert.
He's my favorite.
Paul Gilbert is ridiculous, man. Paul Gilbert is ridiculous. Not only can a guy like do the drill thing, but if you ever heard him play blues, his blues stuff is off the chain. And I'm not talking about the fast stuff. I'm talking like he gets it. He's a dude that as far as guitar wise in my book, like anytime I've seen him, he gets it all. He gets it all. He's yeah, I understand like Humble Pie, not actually like the band Humble Pie. Like I understand Steve Marriott and I understand, Yngwie Malmsteen. I get that. I get both. He gets it all. He knows, you know what I mean? And he could do it all. He's great.
Did you get to see him on the last tour? The tour for his for the last record, the one before?
No, I didn't get to see him.
So he comes out. He's got the suit on, right? Blue suit, blue suit, head to toe. He has a blues band with him basically right now, and he's got this drummer that seems like he's straight out of the Allman Brothers or something, and he's just all fluid all night. And he's like, we're going to play some Racer X tunes, but we're not going to play them like we did when, I was in Racer X. And so they played him all like blues style. It was incredible. Oh, wow. I was just like, I just sat there the whole time. I was like, my God, my mind blew up. And it's not the first time I've seen him either. So it was just, it was a totally different feel and totally different thing. And his new record, I got the advanced copy because I bought it early. It's good. If you haven't heard it, it's good.
I got to check it out.
It's really good.
Yeah, I got to check it out.
Yeah, there's so many. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I was just saying he'll make me want to not play guitar. He'll make That's what it is.
Nah, I said that we walked out of the gig. I was with a friend of mine who's also listening to the show. We're walking out of the gig, and I looked at him. I was like, I just want to give up now. And he looked at me. He's like, what the hell are you talking about? He's like, I'm inspired. And I thought about it for a minute. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, that's probably the truth of it.
That's exactly, after your thing, I'm going to say that it's kind of like when I was in the Navy and we'd be in the berthing complex and an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie would come on, and then everybody had to hit the gym, we were like, oh yeah, we got to pump it up. After I left your gig and my ears were ringing. I mean, it was loud.
Praise the loud.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was awesome. I stayed right to the end. Anyway, I went home, I plugged in, and I just started cranking. Because it was either go, all right, I'm just going to sell it all and give it to charity, or I'm going to freaking, I'm going to learn how to do this stuff better. And it's just one of those things that I think that's the thing that one should take from seeing another musician is the inspiration to do well. I mean, you were talking about rudiments. I was sitting here tonight. I was doing rudiments, and then I was like, you know what, this stuff. I'm just going to turn on a Southern rock thing and just play through, a bunch of major instead of minor stuff. And
right.
Try to lock that in. So I want to talk to you about the musicians because I think we talked before the recording started, and I just want to get this on here.
The musicians and then looping. We got to hit.
We got to do musicians and we got to do the looping. So I want to talk about the musicians first. We're on the gig. We're talking about the gig. So here it is. I got two real questions for you, and we'll start with them being on the stage. First of all, your rhythm section, because for those who don't know, Anthony's in a 3-piece. The bass player and the drummer. One of the things that I noticed, and it's very important when it's in a 3-piece. People have to remember that it is not just about the guitar player and the singer. It is about when you're the drummer, the singer and guitar player, which you're both obviously, has to be able to know that the net is there and you don't have to worry about falling. They're going to catch you. And I want to talk to this, and that is, your bass player, especially, I mean, those guys were locked in so tightly, I thought they'd been playing with you for years. So when you told me that they're new guys in the group, I knew that from videos before and having seen you before, I knew that they weren't the same people that I'd seen before, but I didn't know they were that new. they really knew when you went off to do a solo, like you said, you've got to have that boost because you got to get up there, and we all do. One thing I noticed is they knew how to change their playing style and the way they fill it in, so that when you go out there to do a solo, there's not just this bare boom, 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 thing,
Right.
root note, root fifth thing going on behind you. There's a whole harmonic structure that they've laid down for you to play over. So I wanted you to just talk a little bit about that and how it is with a three-piece.
It's I mean, the guys that Jake Foltz is the bass player who's playing with me now, and Kyle McCormick is the drummer. Kyle McCormick is Kyle's actually been with me technically for just over a year. Kyle came on when I got back from the Bob Seger tour. It's a long story, but I had a guy, Scott Smith, great drummer. Amazing drummer. He was playing with me for a while. He couldn't do the Seger tour. He has a day gig. He had work commitments, so he couldn't do the Seger tour. So I had another buddy of mine fill in, Rich Mossman. Rich did a great job, but right before we left for the tour, Rich had moved to Nashville. So Rich came back from Nashville, did the tour with me, went back to Nashville when we were done. Kyle came in after the tour. But Scott just he didn't. He was like, look, man, I'm not gonna, I don't want to go through this again. I can't do this again. I can't, have an opportunity and not. So I'm just gonna bow out. So, Scott, made a decision to no longer play with the band. Kyle came in. Kyle got up to speed real quick. We started doing gigs right away. COVID hits. Boom. We're out. We're sidelined. Stuff starts getting back, and I did a couple of gigs. Paul Warren was playing with Paul Warren's bass player, great bass player, played with me for years. He's a little older, high risk COVID. He was like, man, I'm not feeling this. I was not eligible at the time for, and this might be too much TMI, but because I'm self-employed and I'm a full-time musician, I'm a sole proprietor.
Right.
I had to make money. I couldn't get the unemployment.
Right.
So I had to go out and gig. So I started doing a lot of solo acoustic gigs. I had a couple of band gigs that were on the books that I didn't have to fulfill the commitment, but because of COVID, when COVID first happened, I canceled a bunch of stuff. I just called. I said, look, I'm not willing to. We don't know what's going on. No one knew what the world, you know what I mean? This was the plague. This was, 1899 as far as everybody was concerned. I didn't want to have that responsibility of anybody getting sick. So I canceled a bunch of stuff. It pissed some people off. They got mad. People that are maybe still not, still don't buy into it, that it was, think it was a real thing, which everybody's entitled to their thing. But moving forward, I knew I can't burn every bridge in the book. I've got to fulfill some of these things. I'm not high risk myself, so I've got to continue. So that's when I called Jake to fill in. And Jake's doing an incredible job, man. Jake is he's in a very short amount of time, the kid has learned an extensive amount of material. Has learned, like you said, my playing style and Kyle's playing style. Kyle and I pretty much immediately, I'm like, yeah, we're from the same thing. You know what I mean? Like we get each other musically. Kyle listens intently to everything that's going on, and he'll pick up on stuff that I do and know where to go. And be that safety net. And then Jake just completes it. Like they just, them two together they really are a powerhouse rhythm section. And they provide such a solid foundation. It's almost like, because we improv so much too, though, it's liquid, like you said. Like they change and they you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a jam band. Like you guys got to have a chemistry amongst one another to be able to do that properly. I've definitely been in situations where I'm improvising with people that like are not on my wavelength, and it's like
Yeah.
What did you just do?
Yeah, no, I mean, and look, I'm not, yeah, it's kind of like this. It's kind of like when we go out on the bikes, there's a couple of guys that I ride with, and I go riding a lot, so I know a lot of these weird roads and stuff. So generally, they're like, "Hey, I'm following you. Like, you go, where are we going?" You know what I mean? And then I'll go. But I don't know where I'm going half the time. Like, I'll just go. I kind of know the area, and I'll go get lost in North Carolina somewhere. But when you're all together and you're all tuned in, and you got 5 guys riding together, and I decide to go right, it's intuitive. Everybody goes, and all right, where are we going?
Right,
you know what I mean? And once you get that, your radar's up, and that sense of adventure of like, we're in uncharted territory here. There's no GPS. You know what I mean? We got to all be locked into what everybody's doing. And it's the same thing with these guys, man. I mean, these guys are we can go off wherever. And these guys are they're there, man. They're there. They got my back. I feel, and it's not to discredit or say anything about anybody that I've played with in the past, but these 2 guys are the most solid section that you know what I mean? They know each other. They know what I'm doing. They're phenomenal guys to play with, man.
Just to share,
I wouldn't be able to do what I do if I didn't have guys like that.
Just to share a little bit of tidbit with the audience, when I'm talking about getting on stage with people that don't know what the hell's going on. And sometimes those can be the most fun experiences because you never know what the hell is going to happen. And good stuff can come out of this. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but having that chemistry is so important to having like a fluid situation. And actually for a lot of bands, you got a 3-hour set. They hear the 3-hour set and it's like, oh my God, like how much material is that? It's like 50 songs or 45 songs. It's like, nah, it's like 20, 25. There's some extended jamming here and there. Like, you're fine.
Right.
Like I've been in those kind of situations, and those are the most fun. Because it's like, well, it's going to be different every night. You never know what you're going to do. You're not playing weddings, but you're,
right.
But you're providing entertainment. And a lot of times you get a loyal following of people that'll come back, because they want to see what it's going to be like the next time.
I think for us, one of the things, and this has always been, is what people are coming for is not to see necessarily a reproduction of stuff that's already, created. They're coming to see creation. Mm-hmm. It's like almost, and I used to say, I'm like, our musical experience is as much Bob Ross as it is Led Zeppelin. Like, you're actually seeing real-time creation of, this is it. We have this moment in time. We have to decorate it. This is how we're decorated. This is, you know what I mean? And tonight, and that's what we do.
That's exactly
the way we roll.
That's exactly why I'm getting out of playing to tracks. I mean, I wrote a bunch of songs, and I use the tracks to play live because I don't have a band set up.
Right.
And that was all happening right before COVID. I started doing 3 times a week open mics and stuff, trying to meet people in the local area just before COVID started. And it all got shut down just as like things were heating up. And I was like, oh God. So I spent the last year just being like, God damn it. So that's how I got into the looping thing. I started playing on Twitch a couple weeks ago. I was like, this will be a good way to just pretend I'm playing live, and there'll actually be people watching occasionally, and I can get some feedback, and I can push myself out there a little bit more and force myself to be in the moment more, rather than when you're practicing. There's that thing that happens when you're on stage, and you have that feedback from the audience, and it pushes you to the next. To the next
and
step.
The other musicians,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm always trying to get to that point. I call it the moment of Zen, right? Like, I'm always trying to get to that moment of Zen where it's me and the music, and it's just coming through me. So I was like, I got this harebrained idea a couple weeks ago because my Twitch streams are boring as hell, and because I'm playing tracks, right? Like, and even if I'm buying somebody else's tracks and I don't rehearse them ahead of time so that they're like fresh to me, it's still tracks, right?
Right.
So I bought an RC 500. And I bought a Beat Buddy, and I MIDI'd them together. They're on a board back there, and that's the direction I'm heading because I want to be more organic with it. I'm going to have a book of just random chord progressions, flip to a page, pick one, and go, and have
that's cool.
First course and create live. Like, that's kind of the idea. So I totally relate to what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I do when I'm looping. When I'm doing my looping thing, my live stuff, I have I have the Jam Man Solo XT.
Okay,
right?
I have one.
I have 3. I have 3, and I have them sync together, together, because one is drums, usually my drum bed, and then I have verse chorus. Or I'll kind of like creatively say like, okay, I know the drum one, this is going to be a bridge section, so I'll play the drums, I'll beat on the guitar for as long as the bridge section is in my head, and then I can record. So I got 3. So, but I do the same thing, and you know, when I'm playing live, when I'm doing a show, I don't necessarily use presets. I have bank one and all of these is completely open. The only thing I have saved on it is that when I hit stop, it's going to play the loop through and stop at the end of the loop. And it just helps me for switching back and forth for verse chorus on these. But I do it all live real time because again, it's the creation. I think people are there to see the creation. But that being said, for looping gigs, I do have some where like I might have a drum beat. You know, I still did it on this,
right.
But I have it saved. I do have some where I have some stuff saved, and really that's just for me to gauge fatigue with the audience. Where, all right, they don't need to see a 2.5 minute setup on how I'm building these loops. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I can get from one song into another song pretty quick. If I see their attention's waning and you know what I mean, it would be better that way. So I kind of do that. I go back and forth, but they're not like, it's not like tracks, and none of my saved stuff is all, it's not 100%, like the song is not 100% saved. It's usually the drum beat, the initial drum beat, and then I'll add some color.
Yeah.
On top of that. And then I might have the chorus part, the bass line for the chorus done. But it's just so I can get right to building that verse. You know what I mean? I get right to building that verse and start singing as I'm building the verse. But yeah, that's what I do. And I did it because I started doing the looping thing because the same thing. I like the interaction of playing. It is the closest you can get to interaction of playing. There are some players around. I mean, Louis McGee is been around the Hampton Roads area forever. I watched Louis McGee play him just an acoustic guitar. He's one of those guys too where I'm like, dude, he's playing a Hendrix tune on an acoustic guitar and he's just playing the solo.
Yeah.
There's no chords going on behind him, but he's so good at leading your ear with what he's playing that I can hear the chords he's playing over. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's guys that could do that. Again, that's not in my skill set. You know, I kind of look at it more as when I'm doing a looping gig, I'm putting my producer hat on too.
Yeah.
I'm producing a thing, you know what I mean? I'm doing a production thing in front of an audience. It's not just a playing thing. So
yeah, my biggest challenge with it, because I'd seen people do it locally, and most of them were actually pretty good at it, but it's always like, okay, so here's the song. It takes 5 minutes to get a 3-minute song that takes 5 minutes to complete. And the audience by that point is just kind of like gone. Because they're like,
right.
So you got to be careful about it. I mean, you got to structure it. And there's a lot of work that goes into putting that together. But I'm hoping that because Twitch is Twitch, people are kind of willing to deal with long-winded stuff. Like it's all video game streaming and people like that. And I see some of these people do some of the stuff who've been fairly successful at it. And they got a following and whatnot. And they make mistakes, and it sort of works out. Nobody complains, and like
it's part of it. I mean, and I was going to say that's another thing is, you know, you commit like the other night, last night I did a solo acoustic gig, and when a couple of my loops, I was tired. Did a gig during the day at a motorcycle event with the trio, so I was out during the day in the sun playing loud rock and roll. Got done, loaded the PA and everything in a van, hopped in a van. Hauled ass to get to my solo acoustic gig at a little, you know, bistro type restaurant, and you know, do this other thing. I was tired, you know, and a couple of the loops, I was like, oh man, that's too fast, I'm like, you just got to commit to it, dude. You know what I mean? I look at it, and I'll sometimes make a joke. I'll be like, oh, sorry, my drummer was drinking last night. You know what I mean? He's a little off.
The Beat Buddy has a sobriety setting, so you can actually turn the sobriety down. Yeah.
No, does it really?
Yes, it does. It does. It has a sobriety
that's
setting. Yeah. I couldn't believe it either. I saw it in the manual. I'm like, you're effing kidding me. Like,
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
I gotta tell you, there's another friend of mine. He and his another guy, they have a duet. So they're bass player and guitar player, but they don't have a drummer. And they
Right.
named the drummer after the 3 drummers they've had that all failed and left the band. So I got to tell you, so his name is Mark something something. I'll throw
great.
Mark under the bus. So because he broke the band up initially, and I was part of that, and that was one of those ones that we had just started to crest where we were getting popular. But anyway, so I said they were between songs. I said, "Your drummer sucks." and, it's the Beat Buddy. So,
yeah, that's a cool
yeah.
a cool piece. If you're interested, I can send you some info on it. You can look it up yourself. But the Beat Buddy just MIDI sync. Like I know the XT doesn't. I don't think the Jam Sync is the same thing as like a MIDI protocol. But if you were to upgrade to one that is like MIDI quantizable, you can use the Beat Buddy with it, and you can literally, when you hit start on the Beat Buddy, it gives you like an intro of 1 bar, and then the looper will start. So like you
that's
can,
cool,
and then it'll quantize to whatever you want it to, depending on what the looper is. Away you go. So.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. Yeah, I've seen the Beat Buddy things. I've looked at them. I've got I started out playing drums. Like I wanted to be a drummer, and I'm a mediocre drummer at best. Usually when I demo my stuff or
I'm
whatever,
worse than that. So don't worry.
What's that?
I'm worse than that. Don't worry.
I
program a lot of drums. Let's just put it that way.
And I've been wanting to bring the electronic kit out to some of these gigs and be like, okay, but again, it gets back to that, are you gonna take 12 minutes to watch me get up, put my guitar down, walk over behind the drums, play a little drums, and then get up and shut that off, pick my guitar up. That's again not with this. That's one of the things that attracted me to it was being able to do that, be able to do that and loop over it. It was like, I don't have to bring the drum set. I don't have to,
Yeah, I mean,
that.
I don't. So I'm primarily an electric guitar player. Like I bought my first real acoustic this year because I'd had like a live Ibanez, and I'm playing in a band that's predominantly folk music. So it's like I'm doing the telly thing, even though I don't have a telly. Pretty much most of the time, I play a Strat and I play real close to the bridge, and do all the things I can do to get the telly out of it. And so for me, like going into the live looping thing, I see the acoustic players and I see them doing the beatbox stuff, with the acoustic guitar. I'm like, God damn it, that'd be cool to be able to do. But I'm like, at the same time, it's kind of like I can use the Beat Buddy and I can do the same thing. And the expectation, I think, in rock music is to have more conventional drum sounds. So the kind of music I play, like I'm firmly I'm AC/DC and beyond. Like anything beyond AC/DC is like right up my alley. And I'm starting to get more towards the blues side of that. So, but
AC/DC. I mean, I love it. AC/DC to me, that's a blues band with Angus Young, man.
No, but I'm saying like I'm getting more into the blues side of it now than I ever was, and like now I'm incorporating a lot more of that what I did. But like I've gone all the way to metal basically, and it's funny because that's the thing. People are like, oh yeah, dude, metal, like. Or I'll play an open mic and I get people in the back. They're screaming, "Play some Slayer!" So I start playing Rain and Blood. It's like they didn't expect me to be able to do it, so I'll do it.
Right.
But
I've pulled out a couple of times. I've had people yell it out, and I've pulled out the.
Yeah.
I pull out some Slayer, bro. I love that stuff, dude.
Yeah, but it's one of those. I forgot where I was going with this, but in terms of the live looping, like being able to incorporate that and make it a not so conventional is where the challenge is going to be for me. Like because not a lot of guys are doing it. I say guys, there are plenty of women doing live looping too, where they're focused more on that kind of music. Like I see a ton of people that are more in the pop side or like the acoustic folk thing. And that side of music, but so it's like just finding my own angle. It's going to take me some time.
It's like anything else. I mean, and I approach everything that sort of similarly. Like, okay, live looping thing. One of the things that I, production wise, or when I'm doing it, what I'm thinking is along the lines of some more modern music. So although I love, and people associate me with being a blues guy, I don't consider myself anything. I'm just playing music. You know what I mean?
Right. Same.
But it's all to me, it's all blues. If it wasn't for blues, if it wasn't for Sunhouse and those guys, Charlie Pat, you would be, everybody would be playing classical music.
Name a song you
mean?
don't like with a 1, or that you like it doesn't have a 1/4 in it.
Right. It's right. Absolutely. So, that being said, I approach things as like, okay, with the looper, sometimes it's not about complexity of what you're doing. It's about what you're adding and taking away. So I see some of these guys that do these amazing looping things, and I'm like, yeah, it's kind of a vamp. There's a guy, and he's really good at it. I don't know if you guys are familiar. Jeremy Mangrum. He goes by Big Forest Fire. He's leaps and bounds, looping wise. He does these amazing loops. Plays trumpet, plays guitar, has a great voice. Super talented cat. So everybody check him out. And he's really good at doing this thing where, like, it may not be so complex, the arrangement, but it's what's being added and what's being taken away to do the verse chorus structure, which is that's a talent in itself. You know what I mean? That's a honed in production thing, So I try and approach things like that too when I'm doing a looper. But at the end of the day, it's just like anything else. It's putting yourself into that other medium. You know what I mean? So like you're saying, finding your own thing is the whole deal is, this is the tools I have to work with. How do I use these tools creatively to express who I am as an individual?
Right.
To connect with other people. You know what I mean?
And then for a lot of people, the challenge is doing it in real time.
Right.
We can all be an oil painter and take months to complete a painting and let all the layers dry and take, long hours to think about what the next step is going to be. But not everybody can paint like Bob Ross, where you're putting wet on wet. Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, and Bob Ross, what's the Happy Little Accidents?
Right.
That's what it is. That's what it's about. I mean, and you could, we were talking about Hendrix the other night. I'm like, you listen to Hendrix stuff, you listen to live Hendrix, arguably the greatest, most influential guitar player ever, right? I've listened to Hendrix stuff that I absolutely love, but on a certain level, you listen to it live, you're like, they weren't all there that night. Like the acid, they had bad acid that night. It wasn't that, you know what I mean? Wasn't hitting. It wasn't all together, you know what I mean? But I've also seen, like, there's a Hendrix thing where they're playing, I think it's in Denmark. It's a black and white video. You find it on YouTube, right? They do Spanish Castle Magic.
I know the one.
Hendrix does not even look he doesn't look at Mitch Mitchell or Noel Redding. He just turns around. He steps on his fuzz face and goes, ba-ga-ga, ba-ga-ga, ba-ga-ga. No count off, nothing. Yeah. And they are right there with him.
And it just rips. It's one of the best versions of that song.
They totally rip. They took the whole thing. It's an incredible. They're so dialed in as a unit, right? So, but to get that, you also have the stuff we listen to. It's like maybe it wasn't as good as that. You know what I mean?
The Isle of Wight Festival.
Yeah, right. And then you have it's the same thing. And I think that's what's missing with stuff now too. Stuff gets so polished. And people get so used to wanting to be, I got to present this in this way, and it's like, man, just
I am very guilty of that. I am very guilty of that.
Everybody is, and on a commercial aspect, being a full-time musician, I struggle with, my first instinct is to let it all go. So if I got something and I'm like, man, I feel like that was, that might not have been the best take technically, but it's got the most soul. The band's got the most going on, and this one, you know what I mean? That should be out there. And I struggle with stuff like that all the time of like, is it something you want to put out because, everybody else is doing this perfect stuff and this is going to sound imperfect, and I don't know. But I think live especially, you have to be willing to live with the imperfections of it. You have to be willing to live with that for it to be magic.
Yeah. I think that's the danger right now of not most musicians, but there are so many people. We talked about this earlier. You can go online and you can see 250 TikTok videos that it could pop up in your phone if you were a person who watched TikTok, which I'm not, or YouTube videos or whatever, and they're all going to have 11-year-olds who can play guitar perfectly, right?
Right.
And so if you're, I'm not going to ask your age, but if you're a 40-year-old or, in my case, in the 50s, and
I'm 73.
you walk out there. Oh, okay. See, now.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
73 plus the age of the wood in the background.
Yeah.
And
It's the
And
vape
so-
juice. It's the vape juice that keeps me young.
Yeah. Shit.
He's been using it for 40 years.
Yeah.
So the point I'm making is that we have to not lower our expectations ourselves, but have a realistic expectation that you're gonna make a mistake. I remember I was talking to Greg Koch online, and he was doing this thing, and I said it's nice to know that you didn't go back and take that mistake out, that you didn't go, because online you can do that. And he said to me, he goes, Jim, that's what being a musician is. Sometimes you make a mistake.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's going to be good. Sometimes it's just going to be a bad note. But if it's real good, you'll play it 15 more times and really nail it in.
Well,
now it's good.
If you listen to the Clapton Unplugged record, right, Layla, and it's even more impactful when you see it, right? He messes up the solo in Layla. He messes up the guitar solo in Layla.
Oh, really?
He does. Listen, it's when he does the that part in the solo. You hear him go. He does like a little flub, like a string flub, right, in the solo. And Clapton's so good, I can't even recreate his flub. Okay, but that's how, right. And he left it, and it was arguably something that reignited his career, right?
Oh, yeah.
Put the Unplugged thing was a game changer for Clapton, right? And when you watch the video, when you watch the live thing taping, you see him laugh and shake his head when he messes up.
Yeah.
You see him like, I'm on I can't believe I just did this on a song I've been playing since, 68 or whatever, or 71. You know what I mean? Like I've been playing this song this long, and I messed it up playing it on acoustic guitar. Like he just shakes his head. And that, I think maybe subconsciously, that's why, like, that was such a human thing. The things that were going on with him in his personal life and everything that happened around that time with him. And he made a conscious decision to present everything in such a human way, right? Maybe that had something to do with the success and what tuned people into that. He was being raw and being himself. So I think that's definitely something that's missing with music today.
Victor Wooten. Okay, everybody knows who Victor Wooten is. So apparently he's involved in some sort of like summer education program for kids and for inner city kids with music. And one of the things that he wanted them to instill, like his instructors, he wanted them to instill in the kids was, and this was an eye opener for me when I heard him actually talk. I think he actually was at a TED talk talking about this. But he basically said, we teach people, specifically music, and in the arts in general, we teach people that there is a correct way of doing things, and that there is a correct format, and that things are supposed to be done in a very specific way, especially when we're teaching someone. And he said, I understand the philosophy why, which is that, if you teach them the correct way, they're going to learn to do it in this specific way, and it will set them up for success later. But what he was saying was, actually, we would rather have kids sit at a piano and just bang out wrong notes. Because every time they hit that wrong note, they're not going to like it. Or maybe they will like it. And that's the spark of creativity, which is realizing that you don't have to do what other people have already done. You can go around it. Now, definitely, we all know that there are certain things that are more pleasing to the ear, and you're going to gravitate towards the things you grew up around and that are kind of buzzing around. But that's that spark of genius when you hit that one wrong note that sits just right in the right place. And it's all over stuff. Like, that's a perfect example. But there are times when it happens on studio records, and they're like, screw it, leave it. Like the one famous Kirk Hammett run where he pulls the string off the board.
Off the fretboard,
and it frets the perfect note, and they're just like, screw it, we ain't messing with it. He's never been able to do it since. But
Yeah.
the whole point is like that's that magic mistake, right? And when I heard this, that's when I realized like I started tempering my own expectations about my own music, which is that like when I'm doing stuff, dude, I recorded for about 10 years and didn't put anything out because
Right.
I was like, it's not perfect. Like I need to woodshed this more. I need to work on this more. And like it was just little stupid stuff. The first time I went out and I played one of the songs that I'd written about 8 years ago, and I played it in front of an audience, and like everybody was real excited, and, like got a lot of applause and stuff. It was no open mic thing. It was like hardly anybody there. When I got in the car and I drove home that night, I freaking cried because I sat there and I
Right.
thought to myself, here I was holding on to this for 10 years. Like I could have played this 10 years ago and would have had the same reaction. Like they just a couple
Yeah, I
people in
mean-
a club. Like who gives a crap?
Well, that's what it is. Is like I said. I mean, you know, for me, music, the whole thing is to connect with other human beings. That's what it is, and that's what my gig Saturday night. There wasn't as many people there as you know what I mean. It was whatever. It was a light night. It is what it is, you know. But if I'm always like, if there's one person there that connects with what I'm doing, then that's
You win.
success.
Right?
I won, right? That's it.
It's
I just got to,
good.
and I'm not even saying like I want to make a fan. It's not even like my mission is not to make a fan. My mission is to make, if I can play a song and make a difference in somebody's day for 3 minutes, that's it. Good. Job's done. You know what I mean? On to the next.
Well, I'll tell you this: that when we were at the Old Beach Tavern, you made a whole wedding parties night. I mean, and you made the night of a lot of people. I mean, you know, when I was sitting there, you know, I'm a people watcher. You know, I'm one of those people. I'm
right.
You know, I'm always in somebody else's, like, looking around, and everybody was smiling and everybody was having a good time, and there were so many people dancing and so many people just bobbing in their seats. But you know what they weren't doing? They weren't doing this.
Right.
And I mean, that tells you a lot in this day and age. When you're looking at, I've got a soda delivery coming. When you're looking at Diet Pepsi, don't forget to sponsor us one of these days.
Yeah, good luck.
So when you're, yeah, exactly.
That's my brand.
And
I didn't realize we were arch enemies.
Yeah, yeah. I did the Pepsi challenge in the 70s. Remember that thing? And I went Pepsi. But that was back in the day when I drank sugar, and now I don't care. I just buy whatever's on sale. But no Diet Pepsi. I do drink only Diet Pepsi. So anyway, no. You know, I think that speaks a lot to the power of, not necessarily. I don't want to you know, blow your ego out of the water here. Just to the power of the music that was being, there was a magic that night that
right.
that you know. First of all, I'm sure that the owner was happy because the waitresses were, and the waiters were just everywhere all the time. The wait staff was just so busy. So, you know, bringing stuff out, which means they're making money. They love that. The wedding party was up. They were dancing. I don't know if you saw them. They were dancing around the table.
Yeah,
they were, of course, they went up in front of you guys. And I just want to say that, you know, because we're coming up on 2 hours now. I don't know how long.
Yeah, we got one more question. I got an anecdote I want to share.
Yeah, and yeah, we always end with a certain question, but all I want to say is that I think that speaks volumes when people are not on their phones, except to take video of you,
right?
Which, you know, a lot of people did. I think that talks a lot to how important it is, and how I think there's a little magic that you guys brought, and there's a lot of magic about the fact that people were, your music in a time of what is going on in the world right now, hope. You know what I mean? You brought that. I remember there was a song you talked about. You wrote for your mom.
Yeah, Long Island Sound.
That was a beautiful, beautiful song. It just, I think that a lot of people were just, you know, myself included, were just riveted to that particular moment in time. That and the hilarity of you introducing War Pigs as a wedding song. You know, you guys do what is supposed to be done. Doesn't matter whether it's off the cuff or whatever it is. You were doing what is supposed to be done, and that's bringing joy to people's lives. And that for that, I think as a fan, I thank you. As a musician, I want to kick you in the balls for having more talent than me. And as a guy in the Hand-Thrown area, I feel nice to, or I feel elevated a bit to be able to say that you're at least a friend of a friend. So,
well, no, we're friends.
Cool
we're friends, buddy. We're friends, man. Yeah, thank you. That's incredible. Thank you.
I don't know if I shared this on the show before, Jim. You can stop me if I did, but there was a night I was just thinking about, like getting people to look up from their phones and like pay attention to what's going on. And I got the ultimate compliment one night. We were in a club. It was an open mic. And it was me and like one other performer showed up and then the host. And there was a couple people at the bar, 3, 4. And then this is a pretty big place, so it was kind of surprising. It was dead, and this is way before COVID and all that. And I started playing, and then I actually decided, well, I don't sing normally, but I've been working on Purple Haze. I'm like, I'll play it tonight. There's nobody here. Nobody's gonna care. So I did it, and when I looked up at the end of the song, the people from the kitchen had come out.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
awesome.
And they're standing there, arms folded, like, what the hell is this? It was good. I mean, and then I looked up. A couple of people had phones, and they were videoing on top of that. So I've actually got the video that somebody sent to me. So
yeah, that's killer, man.
But it was one of those situations where it's like, okay, I did something right tonight. Like I didn't think this was going to work out that well, but all right. And I felt like might be 3 people, but it's just enough.
It's still you made a good night for who, you know what I mean? Like I said, if it's one person, if I can make one person happy.
I had somebody come up and tip me at an open mic one time. That was another compliment. I was like, what the hell are you doing? Guy comes up, he's like, I got $20, says you can play some Hendrix. And I'm like, I've got what you need. It's like, go down to my looper, hit the track, go for it.
I had somebody at a gig once. I made a joke. I said, I'll play with, whatever you want. Just write it on a 20 and put it in a tip jar. So somebody writes on a 20 and I pick it up, and I read it. It said, can you play somewhere else? And I was like, I don't know that song. I don't know.
You should have says, yeah, sure. And then you start packing up. Like, game over. Done for.
Now I'm standing over here.
I play for money, Anyway, yeah. So I'll ask the final question, Jim, because I know what it is. We've done it enough times. We ask everybody who sits in that seat one question, and that is, do you have an embarrassing or funny road story that you'd like to share that just as a parting gift?
Parting gift, an embarrassing
or funny road. It doesn't have to be embarrassing. You don't have to reveal names, but just something funny that's happened.
Yeah, let me think. No, you got me on, but that's it. I'm unprepared for that one. There's plenty of funny stuff that
normally we send the questions ahead of time, but
no, I know. Yeah, no, that's good. That I'm trying to think of something. I mean, lots of funny stuff. All right. So I'll say, all right, here we go. Here's one. So when we were doing a Seeger thing, right? This will, I played Madison Square Garden. I hadn't been back to New York since I left. My first gig back in New York is playing at Madison Square Garden for a sold out show opening for Bob Seger. Pretty friggin' incredible, right? And, my mom had passed, and I knew I was going to do Long Island Sound that night. So it was, family and stuff and friends and everything there. It was an emotional thing, So I'm down in the innards of Madison Square Garden, right? And I'm having this moment of like learning. Some folks like to get away, take a holiday from the neighborhood. On to Miami Beach out of Hollywood. I'm taking a Greyhound, Hudson River Line. I'm in a New York state of mind. And somebody else shut up already. I got to hear that like 12 times a month. You know how often Billy Joel plays here now?
That's right.
Like, really? Really? 50% of the people that work in Madison Square Garden, if you sing a Billy Joel song, will give you a thumbs up. Actually, it's probably more like 30%. The other 70% are like, dude, you know how many times I heard that song? Please, please.
I'm just laughing because it's like that's the total New York response. Like,
oh yeah,
it's like, what the hell did you expect to have happen? You know,
when we walked off stage, all the stage hands, like the union guys from Madison Square Garden, they were all standing there as we're walking down. Yeah, I come down, and the guys like they're like clapping. I'm like, what? It was like Goodfellas, right? They're like, you got your cherry pop, yeah. Like all the guys that worked there. It was great. It was an incredible experience. Incredible experience.
All right, so
I love that place.
We hit the end of the road here, fellas. I've been David.
Oh, wait. We have to
more?
get his no, it's not a question. Anthony, we need you to share how can people find you?
Oh, your social
and
media.
how can they get your stuff?
Facebook, Anthony Rosano Music. Look up Anthony Rosano Music. On YouTube, Anthony Rosano Music. Instagram, Anthony Rosano Official on Instagram. I know.
Well, blue check mark.
I know, yeah. Ooh. I think I have a MySpace still. I think there's a GeoCities. I don't know. There's all sorts of stuff.
GeoCities.
Yeah, I think I got all that stuff.
What, no tripod?
But the important ones are the Facebook, Anthony Rosano Music, YouTube, Anthony Rosano Music, Instagram, Anthony Rosano Official. You can check out AnthonyRosano.com. I have a lot of, live stream stuff that I was doing. I actually recorded it, and that's up. You can download that stuff too. We're on, I've got stuff. Anthony Rosano and the Conqueroos records are on iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, all that good stuff. Come see us at a show. We'll be at Elevation 27. I'll be with the trio on April 2nd, right here in Virginia Beach. And I got some, starting to book some out of town stuff now too. Looking at doing it up in Maryland, be coming up that way. Going out to Fredericksburg in the fall. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Trying to get back out on the road. So keep an eye on AnthonyRosano.com is where to find that stuff.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, good stuff. Jim, you want to take us out?
Sure.
It up.
I've been Jim.
I've been David.
And I've been Anthony.
And tonight we've been the Practical Guitarists.
Yes, we have. Cue the music.